All right, Shalom Akim. All praises goes to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Double honors goes into the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that have taught me the truth. And much love and peace and blessings goes out to all of you hopeful elect brothers that are teaching the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, in truth and in sincerity. So I want to do this lesson regarding the protests that are striking off in Iran. We're hearing this news coverage recently. Hold on, Salaki. I thought someone was about to interrupt this video, but we're all good. We put these videos up raw anyway. But anyway, like I was saying, the recent news about these protests going on in Iran, and just pretty much analyzing that whole situation through the spirit. I have a few articles I want to go into, as well as the scriptures, which is the main point, which when you look at it, lets us know several points through the spirit of what's going down. At the crux of this issue, one avenue that is playing out in the mainstream media, and how this is about a woman. A woman allegedly perished in the hands of Iranian morality police. And that's just one avenue, because the deeper issue here, when you look at it, is that this whole incident and the timing of it is coming at a time where tensions are at an all-time high between Iran and Israel. Where you have sanctions for the past several years coming up against the Iranian regime from, Western powers, specifically America, which pretty much has been destroying their economy. And you also have, leftist forces and people that influence culture, like, professors and so forth, professors of university that sway the minds and undermine these cultures, such as Iran, to get them to have some sort of enmity against their form of government and their own culture. You know what I mean? And that's the larger picture at play. This is just Esau being a demon, and the way he reports it, though, is puts all of the blame and the injustice on Iranians' form of government, but really it goes back to Esau just vying for power and controlling those people's resources, wanting to destroy their people, destroy their minds, and have them in a state of confusion, fighting each other, so he could get access to those people's wealth. He can set up certain puppet leaders to do deals with, these United States and European companies, so they can make money and pretty much, gain more riches. Because that's really what it's all about. We've seen that happen all throughout South America, Central American countries, different parts of the world, with the CIA involvement and causing uproars in their country. This is the type of stuff that happens. So, in the case of Iran, this is just another one of those situations going down. It's just another one of those type of situations. So, and also when you look at it towards the scriptures and prophecy, it just points furthermore towards the return of Yahweh Shai, World War III, and the all-out hell and judgment that's about to take place in the earth. Because even though the narrative pushed by Western media says that this is about injustice among women, they're protesting for this woman, and now you got a lot of these women in Iran that are taking off their hijabs and so forth, right? Well, that points to the bigger issue when it comes to how these Americans and these other Western powers think, Western influence powers, because women are supposed to be in order. Women are supposed to dress modest. You know, because at one point in time, it was a culture from all women to dress a certain way and to obey their husbands and so forth, be keepers at home. But we seen through the rise of the serpent in this current time, since Esau's been in power, the so-called white man, that he's pretty much has abolished that old way, you know, that Eastern way of thinking when it comes to women being in subjection to their husbands. And now we see just with this is more of that serpent, the so-called white man, trying to push his venom into that country. Even though we know the deeper meaning is a regime change, they want a regime change so they can get that dough. But you know, it comes in several avenues, because not only does Esau want your stuff, he wants you to behave as he behaves. Because you have other cultures and empires and kings that ruled, they were just concerned with the resources and defeating the people through battle. But the way Esau maneuvers, he wants to influence and control the minds of the people he conquers. That's why you had periods like Hellenization and so forth. You know, this is just how Esau operates. It's how the so-called white man operates. So let's read a bit of this, and we're going to go to different articles, pretty much proving the point that this is like an entire, you know, subversion operation from the West, you know, really to just subvert and demoralize this people, and they don't even know it. That's the whole thing about it. Like, you do have sincere believers of this movement, women who are misguided, that think that what they're doing is fighting a genuine cause, but they don't even understand that they are forwarding the agenda of a man in a power that has really no good intentions for them. You know, these women and these people protesting in Iran, they're just pawns for the bigger game that's at play, you know, which is basically gonna boil over into war and fighting. So it says Iran protests. Supreme leader blanks unrest on US and Israel, and I wonder why. Because we're going to get different articles to prove that point. Iran's supreme leader has blamed the U.S. and Israel for protests sweeping the country following the death of a woman whilst in police custody. So, you know, pretty much this woman got put to death. Her name was Masa Amini. Okay, it says, in his first public comments on the unrest, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said riots had been engineered by Iran's arch enemies and their allies. The protests are the biggest challenge to his rule for a decade. He urged security forces to be ready for more. The United States said it was appalled by the violent response to the protests. You see, so you got, you know, the condemnation of the West, the United States, you know, which how hypocritical. Because if you want to rewind 50 years, which is a blink of an eye, 50, 60 years, when our people, so-called black people, were protesting in the streets, you know, and not so much protesting as it was civil demonstrations. Our people were carrying signs and marching on different places here in America during that whole civil rights era, and they were combated with all types of violence in the cities they were protesting at, mainly in the South. All right, and I just find it funny how this devil will come out and condemn the violent response from governments and countries that have nothing to do with them. They're following the same model as you devils. You know what I'm saying? So you got that, man. And it's funny because Esau, the thing about it, Esau likes to, you know, for the past 50 years since, you know, so-called blacks in this country have gained some sort of civil liberties here in America. You know, he likes to portray, you know, they'll tell you, I should say, they'll tell you in history class and so forth about this, that we've come past that era. But really we haven't, because all the violence and the blood of Jake has not been paid for. You know, and Esau pretty much still has purposed for our people to be at the bottom of the social economic scale, if you will, to be the working class and so forth, not to rise above and get ahead in this country. So the same thing applies. He's comfortable with giving our people voting rights and different things. Oh, well, you get to sit in the front of the bus. Well, how trivial is that in comparison to how much other atrocities that are committed against our people? From our education system to, hey, you can't even say that you're an Israelite without being associated with terrorism. You can't even identify you for who yourself or who you really are. So Esau is a hypocrite. It says President Joe Biden said he was gravely concerned about the reports of the intensifying violent crackdown on peaceful protesters. This is all part of a narrative. It's all part of a narrative from the West in order to, further fan the flames of dissension, if you will. It says those protesters were calling for just and universal principles, he said, adding that the United States stands with Iranian women who were inspiring the world with their bravery. And hold up. Here it is, a woman is supposed to be in subjection to her husband. She's supposed to be in subjection to the men of her own country. And then you can liken this situation unto, an argument between a man and his woman, and then a third party becoming involved. A whole different man is telling you what you should do with your woman. This is how Esau operates, man. And this is how we know he's the serpent in the garden when it came to that relationship between Adam and Eve. Esau was there to, in other words, the serpent was there to interrupt that. Oh, well, we stand with you, Eve. You should be brave and bold and so forth, man. That's the type of sentiment that this devil comes with. It says the UK echoed the sentiment, summoning Iran's most senior diplomat in London to tell their leaders in Tehran that instead of blaming external actors for the unrest, they should take responsibility for their actions and listen to the concerns of their people. And should that happen to a certain extent? Yeah. If your people, if there's a certain level of oppression or lack of clarity from the leadership to your people, yeah, of course you're supposed to somewhat service the people. But in this case, the people are crying out for a wicked change. They want women to have more rights, women to be more free, and so forth. And that's wicked. Because when you give a woman an inch, she takes a mile, That just opens up the door for more and more debauchery, really. Because the women go, look, when the women go the farthest they can go to the left, when you give them these freedoms, I'll show you what they do with it. Look at this. This is the black woman, the so-called black woman in New York City. This is what they're doing. Dressing in neon suits and robbing people. Talking about period. Do you not see what's going on here? Do you not see what happens when you give women certain liberties? Scriptures say, give her not freedom or liberty to gad abroad. So I mean, come on, man. This is what happens when you support feminism and giving certain liberties to women. All right. So you got this article. You have this other article going back to February 22. It says Israel's Mossad suspected of high-level Iran penetration. So this would make a case even further for the Iranians' claims, that leaders' claims for that Israel and United States having involvement in their country's protests, man. Because it says here, In November 2020, a convoy carrying Mohsen Fazrid, uh, Fakhrizadeh, Iran's most prominent nuclear scientist, came under fire. He was killed with an artificial intelligence-assisted remote control machine gun. Carrying out an assassination in such a surgical fashion against a moving target without any civilian casualties requires real-time intelligence on the ground. After the killing, Iran's intelligence minister, Mahmoud Alavi, claimed that 2 months earlier he had warned security forces that there was an assassination plot targeting Mr. Fakhrizadeh at the exact location where he was shot. Mr. Alavi said the person who planned the killing was a member of the armed forces. We couldn't carry out intelligence operation on the armed forces. You see that? So if Mossad has this level of agents and paid off people within the armed forces, how much do you think that extends to the media? How much do you think that extends to the school system in Iran? So this would make sense why you have these people, these women in Iran, throwing off the hijab and saying to hell with their own culture and their own tradition. Look, here, Times of Israel. Iran says armed Mossad cell arrested over plot to provoke clashes at protests. This from July 27, 2021. See? So a lot of these protests, man, that's the so-called JEW, right at the heart of it. Same thing when it goes with this stuff where they're trying to make it about this bitch, Masa Amini, which to hell with her. I mean, if she got put to death, hey, who perished being innocent? If she got killed, that's her problem. And we see the whole spirit, but that it pushed to the women that are in that country to be more rebellious. So more than likely, she was a rebellious woman in her own form and fashion. And what a lot of you women across the earth don't get is that you're about to be humbled. It's not just gonna be the Israelite women. It's gonna be women across the world, because it's pretty much everywhere is slated for judgment. Judgment is about to be going out everywhere. There's gonna be worldwide famine, worldwide blackouts, worldwide natural disasters that affect millions. Okay, and not to mention the intensity of World War III. People being micro, you know what? Okay.
Come on.
So let's go here. Let's see. Let's go to this last article. As a matter of fact, I'll read this too. It says, this is from October 2nd, 2022. U.S. to impose additional costs on Iran amid protests, Biden says. The U.S. President Joe Biden said his administration will impose further costs on those responsible for violence against Iranian protesters, who have taken to the streets more than 2 weeks in anger over the recent death of a 22-year-old woman in Tehran. It says in a statement on Monday evening, Biden said that he was gravely concerned about reports of the intensifying violent crackdown on peaceful protesters in Iran, including students and women who are demanding their equality rights and basic human dignity. And pretty much Esau, he paints over what he does with terms like that, like equal rights, human dignity. He makes his wickedness sound good, because it's not human rights. What determines a human right, meaning the difference between right and wrong morality, is Yahweh Shem Shai. And in this case, in this society or in this country, it's their government. So who the fuck is the United States to say anything about who's doing what wrong or right? That's no concern to the United States. But that's just Esau being himself. Here it says, around the world, protesters take to, this is from NPR.org, around the world, protesters take to the streets in solidarity with Iranian women. Protesters have gathered in cities around the world in recent days in a show of solidarity with women in Iran. The gatherings are an echo of the protests that have erupted in Iran since the death of 22-year-old Masa Amini, who had been detained by the country's so-called morality police. Whether in Istanbul or Los Angeles, protests are marked by the striking words and images that have typified the protests rocking Iran, chants of women life, freedom, and in some cases, women taking scissors to their hair. So freedom, freedom. See, you could play this word association game as well, because like I said, Esau likes to paint over really his grievousness and his philosophies, which are really not conducive to the health of a kingdom or a people or family, people in general, right? Now, when it comes to the word freedom, he likes to use that because it's generally a positive term. You know, you want to be free from certain things. That's just the natural lust when it comes to certain things. But it's true that also it's not good for people to be free in everything. Imagine a man that's free from the law of his maker. Israelite man that is so-called free from the law of his maker. You become a detriment to yourself. Likewise, the women, when they're given certain freedoms, they become a detriment to themselves and everyone around them. They make it more stressful and painful to do their job, which is to rear children, to bring up children for the house of a man, in the name of a man. Because that was really their whole role and purpose. And we're seeing that this rebellion against the Most High and his religion and his laws, the Most High's, the way he has decreed things to happen on earth. We're seeing this rebellion take place in the hearts of men, starting with the so-called white man, That's really what this boils down to, and through judgment, this is how Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to rectify everything, and he's going to show how his way is right and holy and good and beneficial to begin with, But now we're just seeing the destruction and the implosion of morality and pretty much every system because the lack of putting the Most High first, all right? And the people who were intended to be that light, the Israelites, are at the bottom. So how can this office be, executed by a heathen? It can't be. So naturally, what's just happening is these heathens are just heading into self-destruction. I mean, we're literally, even though this is Yahweh Shem Yahushua working, we're literally to the point where these heathens have continental weapons that can destroy entire continents aimed at each other, man. I mean, what kind of idiot would be doing some shit like this? But it all boils down to these heathens. They just don't got it. They don't got it, man. So let's go to a few articles. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that in the very same time, and parts of the signs are the signs of basically prophecy coming to pass, because this was an angel speaking to Esdras, when Esdras was inquiring of the time when Israel would be redeemed and placed as the head of the world again. And obviously, judging what's going on the earth, we see that has not taken place yet. There's a time period, like for example, Esdras asked, what should be the divided asunder of times? And the angel replied, Esau, one of his replies is, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Esau would have to be in power and ruling before Jacob comes to play. We're in that time, or I should say, before Jacob comes into rulership, which is the Israelites. So we're seeing Esau rule, man. We're seeing the so-called white man rule in total wickedness and disorder. It says, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, So we understand through these signs happening that this is the Most High, the beginning of his visitation. And his visitation is not going to be nothing nice, because he's coming back to set everything straight. You see, when let's just say, for example, when a parent gets home from work and certain duties are expected from the people that live in that house, whether it be kids or even the wife and the kids, everything's out of order. When stuff gets set straight, people getting smacked, and kids getting whipped. You know what I'm saying? They getting punishments put on them to set before everything could be set straight. It says, therefore when there shall be seen earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, then thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and the end is manifest, and the end is manifest. The end is made apparent by the things that we see, really. By all this turmoil, the world powers clashing as it stands right now, especially just within the past couple years. Because if you want to rewind back, let's just take a time capsule to the late 90s, throughout the 2000s. World powers were not clashing at that time. There were certain sentiments in how economy was going to be ran and this and that, but pretty much you had a lot of proxy wars going on throughout that time. There wasn't major nations locking horns and fighting like we do now, like this sentiment now between Russia and the EU. NATO and the EU and America, man. We're getting to the point where the Russian leaders is literally talking about shooting nuclear missiles on American cities. All right, this type of talk and action has not been going on for several years, man. So the end is manifested. Okay, so let's go back to the book of Micah. This is the book of Micah 2:1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity. And this whole entire thing with going on with Iran has been devised by wicked rulers. All right, wicked Edomite rulers of Israel and the United States. Mossad and the CIA. It says, they work evil upon their beds when the morning is light. They practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. You see? So they oppress a man in his house, and your house would be your legacy. That would be, as a man, the people you naturally have influence over, right? Because in the household, the man is supposed to stand as the leader and a source of guidance and wisdom and conduct, right? But within this, with how Esau operates, the man, he's just a worker. That nigga, he just provides for the house or does his fair share. The woman, you could work too, you could provide too, you could be a boss too, XYZ. You can be independent, single mothers, They pretty much put the man and his wisdom on the back burner and allow women to run rampant. They put satanic imagery in children's cartoons and other forms of their education to corrupt them, to be against their parents, to be against their own culture, to be against good, man. This is how these devils operate. It says, Salakia, therefore thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall you go haughtily, for this time is evil. You see that? There's an evil being prepared from which the so-called white man cannot escape from. And that's basically, which I gotta make a habit of stop saying that basically. That's just like one of the words I say for no reason. But the evil which is going to be put on the so-called white man, so to speak, is his destruction and his captivity, his payback for the very same wicked deeds mentioned in this precept. Because the Most High is a just God. He enters into judgment for individuals based on what they do, you know. So here, 1 Timothy 2:9, in like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel. So when you go into a modest apparel from the ancient frame of mind, when this was written, is women wearing dresses, wearing long clothes. You know, you can, I mean, come on, this is not rocket science to explain this, even though to a modern woman, they may not understand this. But from the ancient mindset, the appropriate clothing was for women to wear dresses and head coverings, to cover up and basically not be, how can I say this? Not have their physique out there for men to look at, because that causes confusion. There's a wise thing in doing that, because it makes men more focused on what they got to do instead of being overly sexualized. But these women, you can't tell them that. They want to, dress provocative, dress in halter tops, have their feet out, and so forth. And that's, hey, Yahweh Shem, and the Iranian women, they're protesting to be able to do this. But the wisdom of the scriptures speaks against that. Wisdom of the scriptures speaks against that. And that's why the end all be all, since these heathens can't get their societies in order, Yahweh Shem Shah is going to set everything in order. Because the slavery that's coming, hey, it's a good thing. We always speak on the slavery that's coming. Slavery to these heathen nations. Because they're going to get put in order. All right? They're going to get well involved and well introduced and well acquainted with these concepts of the scriptures and the worship of the Heavenly Father, the obeisance to the Heavenly Father and his people. They're going to obey the Heavenly Father through obeying his people, through being servants to the Israelites, so they can learn righteousness. All right. And in the case of, even as this applies first and foremost to our women, they about to get in order too, because Yahweh Shem Shah, he's about to start smiting people in mass. Ain't gonna be just one random form of judgment. We see a so-called black woman getting knocked off by her angry boyfriend. Hey, that's not big enough. Brother, we rejoice. As brothers, we rejoice at these judgments. Yahweh Shem Shah is definitely turning up. He's making certain things happen so certain women can see it and start, changing their behavior. But Yahweh Shem Shah, what he's going to have to do, he's going to have to turn up his judgment even more, because as it stands right now, the people are still proud. They're still wicked, And in this space of time, if they don't get right, the ultimate judgment that's going to come to them beyond just, let's just say, violence or famine, which is going to come. And the people still don't get it right. All the people that don't get it right, the Israelites, and they're really predestined for it, but still, they're the ones that didn't get it right. They're going to be melted in nuclear fire, all right? So, Salakia, let me go back down. Let's go to the next precept. 1 Timothy 5:6, but she that is dead, she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. And this was prescribed to the woman, because it's a natural desire. As people, we do have a natural desire to please ourselves. You want to do what's pleasing unto you, but you're not supposed to live in pleasure. That's not supposed to be the end all be all, or your sole focus in life is what pleases you from moment to moment. Because as human beings, we have diverse lusts. We have different things that the flesh caters to from moment to moment. But the ultimate thing for women is being in obeisance to her man, because the man is obedient to the Most High. Okay, so let's look up this word for pleasure. Liveth in pleasure is spatalet, spa Spataleo. Spataleo.
Strong's G 4684. Spatalao. Spatalao.
Spatalao. And it means voluptuous, to live in pleasure, to be wanton, to live luxuriously, to lead a voluptuous life, to give oneself to pleasure. So let's do a word search on this word, voluptuous. Voluptuous. Categorized, curvaceous and sexually attractive, which that's not the one we're looking for, relating to or characterized by luxury or sensual pleasure. From Latin, voluptas, here in the origin, voluptas, which means pleasure. So there are many things which can please a woman. Women, like I said, they dressing scantily, showing off their bodies, that's pleasing to a lot of women. Not obeying a husband, saying, well, I'm going to do what I want to do in this case because what I see is what I believe to be right. So that's pleasing to her. Raising effeminate sons to hate their fathers pleases certain women. And not to mention the things that will literally put them in a pleasant mood as far as taking trips, vacationing, getting their nails done, pedicure, manicure. Now, when it comes to certain of these pleasures, they're not morally wicked, but you're not supposed to give yourself over to that. Like it's like, there's supposed to be a ranking system, a hierarchy of within your principles and your actions of what's an order of what's supposed to be done, what comes before the next. And again, for the woman, it's serving her man, making sure he got food and the children are under his vibration. That's the ultimate calling of a woman. And these women, they're not gonna get it, because at this point, 2022, we're dealing with 40, 50 plus years of advanced brainwashing through the media of feminism and these beliefs, which, we get on video and call them out as being toxic and being wicked and immoral. But from a woman's perspective and a lot of other people, this is just what they know. This is what they believe is right, and you can't tell them anything about it. And that's why a lot of brothers get in contentious situations with women when you start dealing with a woman, or you may have had a woman before you came into the truth and things didn't work out. Why? Because this is the shit that they've been fed, man. And it's damn near impossible to fight against that. For one, you got to have a whole lot of patience, certain characters about yourself. And on the other hand, the woman has to be willing to, to change and to see her errors. But these women, they're not going to get it. That's why the ultimate remedy, when it comes to a lot of these wicked behaviors, is the Most High bringing judgment. He's putting pain and misery on people, because that's what makes them wake up. So it's not just you saying things like how we speak to Jake about the holidays, about the wicked things that they're involved with, the wicked religious or being irreligious. They don't get, most of our people don't get it by just us saying it. So Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai, hey, for some believers that come in, they're going to come in through severe judgments. They're going to see their family members murdered. They're going to see best friends get their head cut off. Like with a lot of women that we deal with, that Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai may have mercy on, but she's still being, she's straddling the fence. Yahweh Bashem El-Shai is going to make your woman see her best friend get her head cut off. And straight like that. She's going to be starving for a couple weeks to the edge of death before she can understand that this whole feminist shit, this independence, is evil and it's not good, and you shouldn't be into this type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And this is just for majority of our people, men, women, children, in general. The Most High is just going to fucking mow them down. No mercy. And kill them. Because they straight up reject Yahweh Bashem Shai. All right. So let's go to, matter of fact, let's look this up on the blue letter. Slovakia. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus 25 and 24. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. So that's conventional wisdom. Understanding that women are naturally transgressors. To put it simple, they fuck shit up. When women get into this decision-making role, they fail 9 times out of 10. And they don't make the right choices overall. They think for a short-term benefit versus long-term results, versus legacy, versus how your children gonna feel down the line. All a woman mostly understands is how she feels in the moment, and that's what galvanizes her. That's why it's such a such a moving force with women, especially relationships when she leaves you, is because when she gets bored, she wants to feel excitement again. She wants to do this and do that. But isn't that such a fucking momentary feeling? You're bored and feel excited, and then 30 minutes a day, so forth later, you're right back to being bored. So when you chase that, it means you're foolish. It means you don't understand the ebb and flow of life. You don't understand this cycle. You don't understand what we're on earth for. And it's what a lot of our people in general, how they're living. But going back into the woman, that's why she's the beginning of sin. She's through her we all die. She's not put in that position to prosper and to be doing certain things because, like I said, they make erroneous choices. They're naturally inclined to do the wrong thing. And that's why the Most High placed men as their custodians, as their leaders, as their masters, as their lords, as the scriptures say. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. Why was he her Lord? Was it because the Lord hates women? Was it because Abraham was a misogynist? No, because that was his role in her life. And it's funny because most people can't even don't even associate these relationships with a lot of the relationships they had have had in life. Majority of women, they're employed. They got fucking bosses that they can listen to and put up with their shit all day. You know, they have parents what they've had to listen to. They've had teachers and principals. When it comes to the men, they're rebellious. You know what I'm saying? Because there's been a coordinated attack on that. You know what I'm saying? Within the woman's mindset to not, obey the man. It says, give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. I'm saying, so you don't give a wicked woman liberty to gather abroad. You gotta have a tight leash on your woman. And if you have a certain rapport with your woman that's doing the right thing, would it be okay for her to do certain things? Of course. Go certain places? Of course. Deal with her family? Yeah, if her family is cool and they're not pushing a negative spirit on her, or her friends, if they're cool and not pushing a negative spirit on her to be divisive in y'all's relationship, then cool. But for women in general, they wicked anyway, so they definitely as hell should not be in certain environments like the club, which a lot of these younger women like to do. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't be on fucking dinner dates with co-workers and shit. You know what I'm saying? Certain environments, a woman's not supposed to be involved with it, and that not just applies to where she goes. That shit applies to her decision making, what she fucking does, man. Likewise, like being on the battlefield. What the hell does a woman have to do with being on the front lines of war? Absolutely nothing, man. It says, if she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh, and give her a bill of divorce, and let her go. And that's how it's supposed to be. Especially for you brothers out there, if your woman is not, she's not respecting you and obeying you when it comes to these things, That's the best thing you can do is let her go. Let her be somebody else's problem. Don't be all into the bitch. Don't be all heartbroken. You don't even put your mind in the stage where you can be hurt and upset with her leaving. You know what I'm saying? Now that's harder to said than done, because I'll double back and say that, when it comes to dealing with the woman, and you got a certain relationship with her, it will be hard letting her go. But hey, it is what it is. Because if you let a woman go, that's not the end of your story, man. Don't you still got this truth? Don't you still got responsibilities you need to take care of, and that you were taking care of regardless of her? Yeah. So you got to maintain your focus on that. Maintain your focus on the Lord. That's the lesson we're learning through the scriptures when it comes to a lot of these wicked women we read about. They just going to do them. The woman is an agent of chaos. She was put there in her right role. She serves a beautiful function, a necessary one. But if she does the wrong thing, if she's a rebellious woman, she can mess up everything. You know what I'm saying? And that's the bigger picture when it comes to us. How we maneuver in the truth, and how, this general behavior and attitude among women need to be corrected. This is just one of many reasons why Yahweh Hashem Shai's judgment is so necessary on the earth. Mass judgment, mass death, in other words, a mass correction is so necessary, because this is going to improve life on so many levels. You know what I'm saying? Because the people don't even know a lot of the stress and burdens they put on themselves, the evils they go through. It's through their own mindset, their beliefs, their behaviors. And if they could only change it, you know what I'm saying, they would be better. But, Yahweh Shem Shai, he's going to set that tone so where he gets the credit for that. You know what I'm saying? Because it all goes back to his glory. The righteous ways that we have of conduct, the right thing to do, we got that. We get that from Yahweh Shem Shai, because he is righteous. He's the origin of that. And this is what this is all about, giving Yahweh Shem Shai his glory. Okay? Because the fuck to hell with us, Yahweh Shem Shai got to reign. And then we, by, proxy, whatever words you want to use, we get the glory with him because of his love. All right? So all praise goes to Yahweh Shem Shai. Shalom.